Okay. I'm a little excited about this. I don't know if you can tell. So, ladies and gentlemen, I need to get better lighting over here or something. I'm going to work on that this week. Um, Welcome to our seventh podcast um, for the Sacrament game. Q. I got to figure out how to do this quicker. Okay. I totally forgot to actually test to make sure it's picking up the audio. I apologize if it's not there. If it isn't, it will be there next week. Okay, so and we've already got new video concepts being started, but that was all done by Wicked. Um, I don't know if he saw me crying at night while I was while I was thinking about podcasts and decided to soothe some of my pain and create this video for me, but it took him, I don't know, about 60 hours to render, something like that. So it's yeah, there's we've already got some additional audio to go with the video as well, and do some other things with it, and oh, I'm excited. Right? It's creepy as hell. Oh my goodness. Ah, I think it captures the initial essence right off the jump, because challenge is absolutely scary, right? This project is absolutely scary. Let's be real quick. This project is fucking terrifying, because I mean we want it, but people haven't done it because it's not the money maker. It's not the billionaire maker. So if we're lying to you and we're telling you that we want to create this game, and then we're creating something else completely on the side for a bunch of casuals, then I mean that's fail proof right there, right? Legendary missed it. Should I play it again? Should I do an encore for the video? Did the audio come through? I want to make sure the audio came through. I don't want to play it again and it's all mute. I think the audio did come through, because Kill 07, your comment made me feel like you could hear the audio with it as well. So I'll let you guys decide if you want to see it again for Legendary. Yes? Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. I mean, I've watched that thing like, God, I don't even know, 500 times. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you very much, Wicked, for the work there. It took him, I think he said it took him some 6 hours to figure out how to utilize Blender. So it was you can actually head over to our YouTube channel. I need to start adding that here on the YouTube page. But you can actually head over to the YouTube channel and check that out whenever the hell you want. So head on over, and I'll even get you the link real quick for the video directly so you can save it with your friends. Um, I don't think I've ever done this on a short. Here, let's move it up here. When it goes compact, it loses side menus, and I always use the side menus to navigate. So, oh, there you go. Wicked in our sound team. I'll tell you what, man. Wicked in our sound team. These guys are freaking brilliant. I can't express enough how insanely amazing these guys are. One of my big things when I was running my own sound studio was to make sure that I pulled talent from the underbelly, right? From the places people don't dare to go, because there's a lot more garbage out there than there is talent. But I'll tell you what, when you find talent, you latch on to that shit and you never let it go. And we made some amazing music. So we're actually, in our volunteer staff, we're working on a similar concept. It has to be a little more careful in this type of industry, because the MMO creation industry isn't as vast, isn't as big. There's not as much forgiveness in the MMO industry as there is in the music. If I make a bad song, who cares? It's a bad song. People expect everybody to make bad songs. If you make a bad game, that's on your record for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter if you make good games after that. There's always that one that's remembered. So. All right, so flyover video update. They've started putting in the assets, which are the trees, the pathing, all that stuff. I don't have whether or not they're 80% finished with that or all the way finished with that, and now we're just waiting for Wicked to code the game over to record it for us. But they started putting in the asset. They said that it could take up to 2 weeks, so it should be done, next week. The video should be ready to go to Wicked to render and record it all for everybody. And then that goes over to our audio team to properly sync up all the audio. We have the audio for it. I just picked up 2 other audio files from our team. So we have the audio for it. We know that exists, and it's really impressive audio, just as good as the stuff you just heard. So it shouldn't take anything more than a few days to do it at that point. So optimistic, okay, my optimistic side is saying 2 to 3 weeks tops. The video should be ready, and I'm hoping it is, because we've got a lot of followers right now. We've got a lot of people who are looking at this, who are waiting for the Kickstarter. I think now's really the prime time to jump on a Kickstarter if we're going to have the potential to be successful, and that's something that we have to highly consider when it comes to the Kickstarter, because we're an unknown entity, and that's just the truth of it. And it doesn't bother us at all. We're not like, oh, nobody knows who we are kind of thing. We're an unknown entity. It's a danger risk. The beauty about crowdfunding is, a lot of people can throw $10 here and there without having to worry about it. But we want to make even the people investing $1 feel secure about their money, as secure as we can, obviously. Anybody who feels 100% secure investing money, even if it's in food, you lost your mind. Food could be spoiled. So, there's the risk that's always there, but we want to do everything in our power to soften the hard points of that as often as we can. Oh, forum and the life of the forum. Whew, forum is blown up the last week. I'll tell you what, it is gone crazy. Vanguard, yeah. I don't know if you could tell here. I actually took a day off yesterday. I needed a day off. I haven't had a day off in a few weeks now. So I took a day off yesterday. Today, I focused on other things. I tried to stay away from the forums because I know the second I open these forums up, it's going to be madness. I'm ready for it. My body's ready. I'm willing to do it. But I'm going to need a few hours dedicated to going through and reading everything and then answering things that need to be answered by me. My team does a great job of taking care of most of the questions and answers. I was on there once. Adora pointed me to a thread. Oh, what was it about? It was about going between single target and AoE and who will be able to do what. So I did answer a question on there, but I was directed to it specifically. I didn't surf the forums, and it was something that I felt deserved an answer immediately. I'm gonna have to actually print this out because I got that in the wrong spot. For those of you that were there on the forums. What was it? 2 days ago, 3 days ago? I think 2 days ago. Um, there was a bit of a mishap, and I've got a post specifically laid out to kind of help people understand, called "Growing Pains." We lost a couple people over it. It's going to happen. If the game's good, and so long as we can continue to improve, they will come back. I'm not deadly worried about it. The game's not going to fail because the forums went crazy for 2 hours. But those of you that did see what's going on, those of you in the future that are watching this that aren't aware of what happened, if you're watching this a year from now, it's old shit. Don't even worry about it. Those of you watching right now, those of you here now, and even to those who left, when it comes to the forums, we knew we needed social media experts. We didn't have a direct plan for every potential avenue on social media. We understood how we wanted to go about it, but unlike our game, we didn't have an entire concept drawn out on the rules of engagement for our community managers. That has changed, and it changed because we experienced some turbulence, and some of the best changes comes after a mistake you make. As a matter of fact, all the best changes comes after you make a mistake. And so true growth a lot of times comes with the presence of failure, and that's essentially what happened. We had a little bit of a failure on our team. We have since remedied it. We have put things in place and discussed with those that have the tags underneath their name, the importance of the types of things they say and how they can go about saying them. They're volunteers. They want to contribute to conversation just like everybody else, but they do have to understand, we as founders, anybody involved in this project has to understand that when you have something like dev team or community lead underneath your name, that there is a little bit more weight that goes into certain questions and the way that you phrase things. And it becomes a little political, and there's a little bit of a game you got to play with it, but it's something that we adapt to. So we treat it just like we're going to treat our betas. And I ask everybody, for those of you that have that kind of patience, that are going to be there for the betas and see all the bugs and all the broken shit and report it instead of just run away and quit, do the same thing here. Report it to us. We will remedy it. We will get right on it. Adora was absolutely quick in dealing with the situation. And I came in and followed her up to let people know that me, her, Crave, Wicked, we're on the same team in this as far as talking about how we make the corrections and what we're looking for out of the community and what we're going for. So, my apologies to those that felt slighted. There was a mishandling of conducts, and it's been dealt with. So if it happens again, you can come knock on my door and take care of it directly, because it should not happen again. And we have a bunch of volunteers, a bunch of new guys coming in. We put a stop on accepting volunteers right now until we make sure that we've got a firm handle, and we'll do that from here on out. I can honestly say I don't think we expected to have more than maybe 15 volunteers working on this project before we became funded. We're looking at 30 volunteers now. So there's our biggest failure is not expecting success on the level that we're having it. Are we multimillionaire? No. But success isn't just measured in money. So we've made the appropriate steps. We're hustling and bustling. We're here to take care of the game industry and the community. You've seen my outline to what makes an amazing game, and a huge part of that is how the company interacts with the community. So that's really all I've got to say about that. If you got any questions about it, I'm sure you can find it on the forums. We didn't delete any of the threads or anything, but growing pains, it happens, and there are going to be other issues. We put some added securities in place to help deal with the bots. We've been spamming, or we've been banning them, deactivating accounts, deleting posts. But the last 3 days, they've become very ravenous, very aggressive. They're like a flock of hyenas trying to bite at anything. So we put a couple extra security protocols in place to help reduce, and we're continuing to look into other avenues. I know that there's professionals out there that can overlook almost anything. So we're planning ahead. If anything, this taught us to plan better for success, right? All right, so social media life, that almost goes in the same vein of the forums, but social media life's doing really good. If you've got talent or capability for social media, We closed off opening up volunteers on general avenues. We are still looking for very specific targets right now, just to keep the flow going, right? Marketing is important. Whether we want to contribute to marketing or not, it's absolutely important. It's how we get more people here. It's how the game acquires more people who are investing more into the game to make sure to give it that added layer of potential to succeed. Until we've got the budget, we're going to need that backup. And I don't want to put that on. I think right now we're looking at some 60,000 interested parties. I wish they would all jump on the forums. No, I don't. I absolutely do not. Forget I said that. I really don't. 60,000 people on the forums is way more than a volunteer force can handle right now. So do not do that. 60,000 people aren't even watching this. They're just waiting for Kickstarter to see what happens with the game. So what's required, a minimum for the amount that we're putting up, is about 30,000. So we're well above the mark we need for that. But that's just for the initial Kickstarter phase. That's not the entire budget. So clearly I don't want to put that on like 5,000 people to pay our entire budget. That's not really what crowdfunding is all about. So, all right. So last week, what did we talk about last week? Last week we talked about gamer swag, and I actually had a merchandiser reach out to me. So we'll be talking to a few people about that. We had 2 people reach out to ask us what our plans were for merchandising the swag and creating the swag. We've got one company that is willing to send over some test products for us to see how they look, and they're also willing to create in quantities as small as 1. Now, obviously, for the things we can mass produce that people are saying they absolutely want, we want to mass produce. It's cheaper for everybody. But you know, on the minor things where we've only got, I don't know, let's deal with rough numbers here. Let's say we got 200,000 people and 10,000 want a specific item, and they're willing to pay the increased cost because of what it'll cost to do 10,000 of those items instead of, you know, 100,000 of those items. Then we can do stuff like that with at least one of our potential clients out there. So I'm excited about that. You guys should absolutely be excited about that. I don't know if that makes us a real company yet, or if we're already a real company. I guess it depends on your definition of real company. We're working our ass off like a real company, I can tell you that much. We also revisited dual shielding and talked about how this podcast is going to evolve. So I did not forget about the evolution of the podcast. I am putting together some items to get people involved on this. I think with the community situation that happened on the forums, I think that was a great example of ways that we need to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen on the podcast as well. So if we're going to learn anything from our failures, it is to learn how to properly plan ahead next time, right? Right. All right. So this week's discussions, first and foremost, this isn't really a question that's going to change as much in the game itself. This is, I'd say this one's more food for thought. And when it comes to the betas and alphas, it really comes down to when you provide feedback on certain things, keep this kind of stuff in the back of your mind. I'm pretty sure the community is about even. No matter what community you go for, community's about even. And the question's really going to come to the capabilities of your technology. And this question is how important are graphics? So when I played EverQuest 1, the coffees and mugs, Sacrament thongs, of course the non-bot would say that. So when I played EverQuest 1, I played it for 7 years. And 4 or 5 years after I had left it, I can't remember playing it thinking that the graphics were good or bad. Like I don't remember if I had an opinion on the graphics. It was the first MMO I'd ever played, so I think I just assumed that was the graphic quality for all MMOs and left it at that. And at that time, I think it was just the graphic quality of MMOs. I mean, being the first kind of makes it that, right? I played Final Fantasy 11 a little bit. To me, the graphics felt the same. Final Fantasy 14, to me, the graphics felt the same. Bear with me. I'm getting to a point here. I know they weren't the same. Terra, to me, the graphics felt the same, right? So I'm not asking you right for you to agree to me. Just to understand what I'm saying here. I know, crazy ass white boy. I get it. Okay, so 4 years later, I'm thinking, this the graphics were great. The game was really difficult. I'm gonna go back and play it. I logged into the character for a new character because I sold my old one, no longer had him. So I logged into this new character for the first time in 4, 5, maybe 6 years, and the game was absolutely horrible looking. Okay, absolutely horrible looking. Now, people always talk about nostalgia, right? When you think about things that you loved, there's a certain level of nostalgia that comes along with it. Anybody that argues against this is ridiculous. There's absolutely a certain level. I don't think it's the same for everybody. I know that I absolutely love the game. I still love the game, but it's not as big as it used to be, and there's a lot of things that are they're a lot easier than they used to be, and I really loved the difficulty and a lot of the content that we had done. Lake of Ill Omens, when I think back on it, I see this, gorgeous landscape. And then I walk into it in game and I realize that all those graphics were in my head. Like I had translated that into the game. If EQ was any less graphically inclined, would that still have had the same effect? If EQ's mechanics were lowered a bit and the graphics increased a bit, would that still have had the same effect? I think when it comes to this question, you have to wonder, do graphics truly play as important of a role that they need to be top-end graphics? Or do they need to be acceptable graphics, and then the story and the environment have to be so enticing that players look beyond what's there? They don't really see the graphics as much as they see a world that they want to be a part of, that they're absolutely enamored with. So when it comes to nostalgia and me thinking about EQ1, it was very clear to me at that point that I finally understood what the hell nostalgia felt like, because the graphics were atrocious, but my memory of the graphics were of these diverse and dynamic worlds where, I remember trees leaning in the wind. None of them trees lean in the wind. The hell kind of crack was I smoking? So I think when you can master an environment that puts people into a pure immersion, which used to be a really bad word, okay? Immersion used to be the worst word you can use in the MMO world, and now it's a desperate word. It's a word that nobody gets anymore. So how important are graphics to you? Are you the type of person like me who, when you really enjoy the game, the people in the game, the style of the game, the challenge of the game, when you're enamored with the story of the game and the graphics aren't quite there, that you can absolutely forgive it and move on beyond it? For those of you that are like that, is there a certain style of graphics that would absolutely shut you off? I know cartoon graphics. We say cartoon, we mean the big shoulders, big head, big hands, big feet, really skinny waist kind of stuff, overdone colors all over the place. I think that's kind of what a cartoony style looks like. Those kind of graphics, they were better than EQ1's graphics, but only in a visual aspect to rounded corners, and they look newer and fresher. But those kind of things turn me off. Like I couldn't play WoW. I tried it 3 times. The first 2 times I had to quit simply because of the graphics. Not that they were bad graphics, they just weren't my style of graphics. I know a ton of people that love those graphics. So I'm not saying that game had bad graphics at all. I don't think anybody can really argue that it does. The benefit of those style of graphics, the kind of softer graphics, is that they last a lot longer. They're a lot easier to maintain. So when is it acceptable to have lower graphics, and when is there a toss-up for graphics versus overall game quality? It's ESO, great graphics. Game quality was pretty smooth. You get past the launch issues, which still was one of the better launches out there, even though I got called one of the worst launches. When you get past all that stuff and you got closer more to the end game type stuff, it was really nice to stop and look around at a lot of places. I enjoyed that. I've got screenshots on my computer from a lot of stuff like that. So the graphics were great. The gameplay, I think it was more of a system design for me than it was anything else. The gameplay kind of turned the game off for me. I never once complained about the graphics of EQ. Final Fantasy 14, pretty much the same thing. Final Fantasy 14, my issue was the final fight in the first 8-man raid. I didn't like that they forcefully gated the boss to be unbeatable. I thought it was cheap, so I refused to support stuff like that. Terra, I thought I had great graphics and great combat. Um, I think the graphics were a little softer, but I think it was fine. It was a good mix between the cartoon feel and the more realistic feel, the rustic kind of feel. So I think there's different calibers of graphics. What's important to you on that? What is it about the graphics that makes you say absolutely stunning, or hell no, or even it's not as pretty as ESO, but I really like it. It's something about it just grows on me, kind of stuff. So when we get into talking about newer, more upgraded graphics, and this is actually a reason why Wicked's looking at a pixel-based engine, and one of the reasons why we want to go with Improbable's cloud server technology. So the tighter your graphics get, the more advanced your graphics are, the less amount of older machines, right, can support the graphics. Even on the low side, they're struggling to keep up. Now, in the gaming world, a lot of us have the same belief. I upgrade my machine every 4 to 6 years, but it's still considered high end for about 2 years before I'm even considering replacing it. So I get 4 years of mid-range content. There's only a couple games out right now that I can't play on ultra high. For the most part, everything I touch I can play on ultra high. A lot of people build like that, and they're not expensive. You shop around, you get parts, but you have to understand what parts you can fit where, and what works well with others in order to do that kind of stuff. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is they don't get that. And in order to get a machine equivalent to what I've got, they have to pay the $2,000 to Dell or something for them to put it together for no different of a cost than I put mine together. So when we look at the graphics, are you one of them people, be honest with yourself, are you one of them people that looks at a game visually and says, man, this is amazing, and I don't care that I had to build a new machine to get it? And I know there's rich people out there. I'm not talking about you, because you guys are rich. Nobody likes your mom. I'm just kidding. We probably love your mom, unless you don't like her, and then we don't like your mom either. I don't know. I probably won't like your mom anyways. I don't really like moms. They're weird. Weird as hell. I don't even like my wife. She's a mom. She's weird, man. Like, kids ruin women. Ugh. Anyway, so for those of you that aren't rich, those of you like me that are, we're well off. We've got a couple bucks to throw aside every month on whatever the hell we want to throw it at. Is it Does it bother you to have to build a new machine every 4 years for a newer game? Is it important for you to have more people have access to the game, or to have the best quality graphics you could possibly have? So with the server technology we're looking at, and with the pixel technology, Wicked's investigating heavily. He's trying to find some other things. There's some pixel technology out there, but it's got a lot of issues, a lot of complaints. So we're definitely not moving into those. But with potential pixel technology, you can essentially create the finite item and then render it as a complete object, which gives you a lot more control and a lot more detail without having to render multiple little blocks, 6 billion blocks inside of this one object, which I think is brilliant. But can we get it to work? Can somebody out there get it to work already? So right now we're seeing a no, so we're absolutely sticking with Unreal Engine 4. There's Voxel, thank you. I don't know why I said Pixel. Voxel Engine. I don't know why Crave is waiting so long to correct me, man. So I love reading chat, and I can't even keep up with you guys anymore. I liked it when there was only 2 of you. I'm just kidding. I love all of you. Don't stop fucking around. Playing on my heartstrings. All right, so I'll put a poll up on that, or a discussion up on that. I don't really think there's going to be a poll. Maybe there will. It's understand that it's not exactly going to, while we will consider the information, there's no doubt there. Unless there's an overwhelming, like 90%, 98% of you are saying, oh, the game has to be absolutely graphically gorgeous, or we don't give a damn about graphics, give us EQ1. We would never do that. There's absolutely no reason to go that far back in graphics. Absolutely no reason, okay? That would never happen. But, let's say there was 90% that say, we don't really give a fuck about the graphics. You do whatever the hell you want. You want to put potatoes on the screen, as long as I can believe that potato has children spuds that raised a potato farm and wanted to have more potato children with a potato foster family. If you were asking for that, we would consider that a little more than not. But this is more me curious to see where you guys sit on this, how you guys feel about graphics in the MMO world. Unlike PlayStation and Xbox, we have a lot of leeway, which means a lot of different directions we can go with the graphics. So it's always one of them hot topics, right? The first thing people are going to crap on is your payment model and your graphics. Then it's going to be your movement, if it's wanky or weighted, which neither of those two terms absolutely describe anything. So anytime I read reviews where they say terms like wanky and weighted, I close the page, because if you can't provide me with an accurate description of what you're seeing, I might as well be talking to that rooster about the game, because he's not telling me shit either. I'm just putting it out there for you game reviewers. For crying out loud, give actual descriptions. Pretend you're intelligent, huh? I'm probably going to get shit on by a whole bunch of game reviewers for that comment. Whatever. We're not going to pay them to do our game anyway. It's not in the budget, so we're going to get crap reviews from them anyways. All right, so the next topic is I want to revisit something we talked about. 8-bit power. 8-bit power. Yeah, so we're not going back to EQ1. It's not happening. While I enjoyed it in the time, it would absolutely distract the shit out of me nowadays. So it's not happening. I think it would cost you more to create EQ1 level graphics than it would to create, the substandard graphics in today's world, based on the technology. I don't even think we have the capability to create graphics that simple outside of pixel art stuff, and that's, what are we talking about? Minecraft, which looks better than EQ1 anyways, in some regards. It's all blocky and shit, but in some regards it looks better than EQ1. But no, that's not happening. Boob physics. He's actually not the only one to suggest boob physics. We have another friend who he's excited as hell about this project. He wants boob physics as well. I kid you not, like clockwork, on the 11th of every damn month, which was today, and he sent me a message today. Rob Jello, you know him, Crave. Rob, if you're listening, I just gave you a shout out. Every month he asked me if we decided to add boob physics in yet. Man, you gotta stop, Rob. Y'all want boob physics? Terra has amazingly strange boob physics. All right, so the next topic, because I really love this topic, and I think it's important for us to bring up into light. It kind of got lost in all the chatter that's going on the forums. I kid you not, guys. It's last week, I think that said 16 total posts. Maybe not. All the way down here, right here. Tier 11 rating. Tier 11 through 15. So I made a couple mistakes. Like this one right here. I actually need to change that. All right, so this is my vote right here, and so I had forgot that we removed all tier 12 or 12 player rating from the rating scenarios. Absolutely forgot about that. And I think because we had, and I'll update this this page over I'll update all this right here. How about this? I'll update all this right here. Dick physics. Oh my god. No. I'm not putting dick physics in the game. Wicked, you're not allowed to watch this episode. I probably should have said at the beginning. I'll add that to the beginning. I'll figure out how to edit my videos and add it to the beginning. Um, so we, so when we first went through our raid setups, before we ever talked to Wicked or anybody else, when we were talking about raids, we created some 13 raid scenarios just off the bat. I mean, we had ideas we had been sitting on for a long time. So we laid them down and we tried to figure out how big these raid sizes are going to be. And one of the big factors is the mechanics, right? Either you need to space mechanics out if you've got a lot of mechanics, or you need to have mechanics, enough players in there to handle all the mechanics at once. So when we were looking at it, we originally had 12 and 36 player raids, tiers 16, 17, and 18, and in, or not 36, 12 and 24 player raids, tiers 16, 17, 18, and then 24 and 36 player raids in tiers 19 and 20. And 20 has 12 raids in it itself, for the unlock that needs to happen in order for players to technically beat the initial launch of the game, the primary story, to get to all the way to the end of it and understand it. So we decided that our mechanics were so much and so big, and we didn't want to space things out too much, because we tried doing it and it felt really generic the way we were spacing it out. It just was no natural flow to the space, that we had said, all right, let's make all the 12 player raids all tier 11 through 15, and let's just do 16 through 20 are all 24 and 36 player raids. And we wound up with some 213 raid scenarios, and this didn't include all the events that happened before bosses, but it wound up being some 200 plus raid scenarios, and we wound up just getting rid of all the tier 12 raids. So what this question poses is essentially, do we want to bring back those tier 12 raids? Do we want to put a raid scenario in the world for players to experience the raids before they get to raid specific content? And so a few things will happen here. One, this will add work to the raid workload, which honestly I really don't think is that big of a deal. While we've created mechanic heavy raids, we have also verified with our content creators that it's not that difficult to add mechanics into the raids. Creating the entirety of the fight is really the hard part. Adding all that or putting all that stuff in the game world is technically, according to what I'm being told, is the easy part. So creating it from scratch is hard. Converting all that data into a world, once you've got your engine going and you already understand how the game's going, is much easier. So when we say things like, we want you to enjoy all the content our developers created, what we mean is we want you to enjoy all the content that our concept creators created, because apparently that's where all the really hard work is, which, seeing all the games in the past 10 years, I think I agree. Where am I? So I already said they'll all be 12 player raids, which is fine. I think right now there's enough conversation. People are, why did I go back out? Why did I back out of that? There's a lot of people talking about how they would enjoy some 12 player raids. There's still, man, I got to address this shit right now. All right. Listen up. We are still one of the newest markets out there. Okay. So I understand when there are some things that we say that make absolutely no sense. And there are some really intelligent individuals out there saying these things. And I get it. A lot of it has to do with fear. But there's absolutely no supporting evidence to show that any of that is the cause for why this is impossible. So what we've got out there in the raid world is no fucking raids. Literally. There are no raids out there in the raid world. WoW, EQ2, and EQ1 are the only games that have actual raiding content. If any of you come here saying Final Fantasy XIV is raiding content, go pound sand. Seriously, I don't even want to hear it. Just go enjoy some sand pounding fun and have a great freaking day doing it, because you've lost your damn mind. While they have some interesting fights, a two-party event is not a fucking raid. It's just not a raid. So, and this is essentially what a 12-player raid is going to be. So, what happens is way back in the day, we had 72-player raids. These were the first raids. It was really more clear a whole bunch of trash and then kill some bosses with some mechanics thrown in. EQ1 evolved that to really heavy mechanic raids. I think the Death Knell Tower series was probably the best raiding I've ever seen. EQ2 did a little bit of this. Their raids have never been as massive as EQ1, and I believe, all of their raids have always been 24-player raids. I did that shit for 2-3 years, and the raids always filled up, and we always had standby players. I mean, we had 10 standby players on a 24-player raid. For those of you that try to use the argument that end gamers don't want to be standby, you don't know, you really don't know what you're talking about. Because end gamers, those min-maxers, those high-skilled players, they understand two things. One, it takes other players to beat the really hard shit. It takes teamwork, camaraderie. It takes relationships and understanding of how other players play to beat a lot of this content. It's not just about the mechanics. It's about understanding when this guy is going to do something and this girl is going to do something, and understanding how they're going to respond to each situation on a mass scale. Okay, so we'll just talk about it on a 24-player scale. WoW, I think, started out with what, 56-player raids. I think they bumped down to 40, and they had some 12-man content, 24-player content. These are essentially the only 3 games that I'm more than willing to consider for real raid content. Now, there's been some interesting raid fights out there. Swotar had some interesting ones, but all of their raids have a primary mechanic where your DPS or the fight must be done within an absolute amount of time. Right there. Seriously? Seriously. No. So, I just want to throw out real quick, a enrage mechanic is a viable mechanic, unless you use it every goddamn time. And then you're just fucking lazy and shitty. So, that's the thing. Anyway, so, WildStar had raids, but once you figured out the dance for WildStar, the raids were over. It was really easy to do for a lot of guilds. And admittedly, learning the dance was a little harder for a lot of guilds. But when the most difficult raid you had was completed 2 months after the game launched, you either didn't have the right system set up, or it just wasn't challenging enough. Players are absolutely brilliant. If you can't respect that they're absolutely brilliant, you have no right creating raids. So we'll put WildStar on the other pillar, okay? So we got no raids, then we got raids, and then we have other. I'll put WildStar and Swotar in other, because I think it's worth it to put them in other. The fuck? I don't even know. That's what I get for looking over at chat. All right, so in this world, we have EQ1 started out with some 400,000 players in like 2001, something like that. I think their peak was 2 million players. But the market was, I mean, when they have 400,000 players, the market was some 600,000 players, maybe 800,000 players. It wasn't a big market. It definitely wasn't enough to support 12 million players. Okay, they held the capital on the market for a year or two, easy. And then Eve and a few other really good games came out, and players wanted a little something different. They didn't want something as challenging, which is respectable. Not everybody's into the same thing in their MMO, which is why you can't build a game for everybody. It's not fucking possible, because you're going to piss a lot of people off by building a game for everybody, because one of those things is easy. Not everybody wants easy. So when there was only 400,000 players playing that game, we had some 20 72-player raid forces, 20 or 30 well-known 72-player raid forces. And this was 2 to 5 raids or guilds per server on raid servers. Now, there were servers that didn't do raiding. There were servers that only focused on PvP and role-playing. Servers that really just had no raid force because they had no organization on the servers. So it wasn't all servers out there. But vast majority of servers had 2 to 5 raid forces, and they fought each other. because it was all open world. You had to beat other players to the timer. There were instances where raids would beat on the same boss at the same time. I mean, it got bad. Okay, you want to know why instancing exists? Check out the history of raiding in EQ1. Okay, that's why instancing exists. Oh my God. So, in a world where we are multiplied by 100 times, it's not an exaggeration. We might have been a 600,000 player market. We've now got 64 million players in the market. Do the math. There's two zeros there. Okay, um, two additional zeros there. Um, in a world where we've got that many more, it's not about not having enough players to raid. What it really comes down to is having enough leadership in position, enough of an understanding, having enough quality content. Um, I mean, there's so many factors that come into this that people just automatically assume that even though our market size is increased by 100-fold, and even just the ones that play the MMO, which is roughly 22, 23 million last time I read something, which was a couple months ago. Um, Even just the ones that play the MMO, you're still talking about some 20 million players between all these different games. Um, you're not If you create an absolutely excellent product and get people to show up, I don't think you're gonna have that hard of a time if Final Fantasy 14 can force 24 player raids to be pug raids and run some 100 of them a damn day. I think 24 players for an actual raid team is rather easy to do. Uh, Please, can we move on to the part of the argument where we start talking about real problems, like the fact that there was no quality rating content, or and this is something that gets overlooked all the time, and I get not everybody's into psychology, so I understand that, but the fact that when you make everything absolutely accessible, everybody is going to be there. Let's be honest about a few things here. That everybody includes all those people who are absolutely selfish, who are completely and wholly selfish. There's a lot more people who are selfish than there are unselfish. A lot more people that want to be the champion and the king of their throne than there are people who want to work together and become a part of an already existing raid force. You have any idea how many times I see in zone chats in new games about, new raid guild looking to form? Swotar. I just came out of I think I'm done raiding Swotar. It's just not as interesting as I thought it was. I was hoping it was going to be. Um, Mostly because of friends, not because of the game. Okay, calm down. So when it comes to looking at it all and the total size and population, when you put 1 million people in raid systems in endgame, which is essentially all you're doing, you put a 20-day gate, a wall between them and endgame. All you have to do is follow this path, and you're absolutely there. Um, when 1 million people are raiding, most of those people are going to be building their own guilds. Most of these people are LFR, New Progression Rating Guild. Guess how many of those guilds actually do something? It's a lot less than you'd imagine, okay? Some 5% of them might actually start rating. 5% of that might make it into something worth slightly mentioning. Typically, you're not really creating a unique raid force out of that that's going to compete in progression. It's not how it is. Oh my God, why are we talking about dick physics, weirdos? Um, so so when we're sitting here talking about why raids are difficult to pull people into, don't forget the fact that people are absolutely fucking bored of raids, because nobody even talks about that. Nobody talks about how every little kid who's got a mommy and daddy's credit card can start their own raid guild. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the fact that they're in all these games with giant raids right now that are old as shit, mind you, that there are full raid guilds who have full backup rosters. Absolutely full raid guilds with full backup rosters. I kid you not. Go look up EQ2 has a tracking site for raid progression. Europeans are always destroying this. Their latency is minimal. Their DPS is like 6 times what it was on the US servers when I was last playing. And their latency is optimal. Okay, it's freaking incredible. But when you look at all these damn fights and shit going on, these raids happening with 24 plus players, there's none of them are complaining about not being able to fill seats. They have people who just disappear for months at a time, and they got some guy coming in right now to fill that seat. There's no question about it. Nothing in there. Maybe this might be the Marine hard ass in me talking. Maybe the issue isn't the size of the raids. Maybe the issue is the leadership. Maybe the issue is that people aren't willing to go out there and convince people that their guild that is in raiding is actually worthy of picking people up. There used to be an unspoken hierarchy in raid guilds. You knew if you were a stepping guild, but you knew where you placed. You were top 5. That means everybody wanted to be in your guild. It didn't matter which one of the top 5. Once you were top 5, everybody wanted in your guild. And I played in a few of those. All right. Blades of Wrath was the only one that was in top 5 on the server I was on in EQ1 that I never played in. And that was mostly because they were cheaters. They teleported to the raid targets all the time. Nobody wasn't aware of this. They moved over to WoW and did the same type of shit. So it's the only reason I never joined that one. But I was in IR. God, I can't even remember the damn name of the guild. If Brumbadin was here, he'd name them all off. We were in all the same ones together. But it's just there's way too much data out there that goes against what you're saying for me to be convinced that raid size is going to kill raids. It's one of the reasons why we're doing 24 player raids and 36 player raids, and why we're more than willing to talk about 12 player raids right now. If you guys need to be walked into the realization that 36 player raids are not massive size raids and that people are not going to be afraid of them, I'm all about it. I will give that to you. Hell, I'll even do one better for you. If we launch this game and we've got 24 and 36 player raids and people are not doing it because they can't get people to show up, not because people aren't in the raids yet, but there's a population ready to do it and they can't get people to show up, we will reduce the raid size requirements. We will adjust the raids specifically for smaller raids. If competitive raid guilds out there aren't waiting on that though. So if you're going to sit there and think I'm going to get the end game and we're going to act like we can't get enough people for these raids, you're going to be way behind progression guilds, because progression guilds don't play that shit. There's no whimpering, no whining. They only care about killing shit. So consider it my open challenge, and that's your reward if you just so happen to be right. There's no information supporting your claim, and there's plenty supporting mine, but, you know, we can continue to argue about the raid size. All right, so back to the 11 to 15 player raids. So in this game, we do have epic armor. For those of you who've seen the website, you've probably seen this already. We haven't gone into great detail on the epic armor. We've kind of given hints that there is epic armor, how the epic armor works. For those of you that played WoW, I believe relic was their similar term. For those of you that played EverQuest, you know what epic is. I don't know what other games call it. Final Fantasy has the weapons in there, like the really powerful weapons that you have to go and do a whole bunch of series of tasks in order to get made. That's essentially what this concept is. And the epic armor is evolving armor. So if you get a tier 11 epic chest, it's going to be the best item you can get out of that tier. Now, it is not going to be easy to get, okay? Absolutely uneasy to get. Weapons, right now, we've got weapons and visible armor slots set up for this. Not everything, just weapons and visible armor slots. I believe that's 9 total pieces. 10 if you're dual wielding. The quests will stress you out. They will push you to your limit. We've got time requirements for the average player for these quests. I understand that the hardcore players are going to be much faster than most people in all avenues of the game. You cannot build a game for hardcore players. Nobody will ever enjoy it. We build this game for the average core player. So the difficulty is set higher than your typical game. And there's no difficulty slider, so that's just where it's at. Which is why a lot of people are going to be stuck in, you know, the tier 8 to tier 12 area if we become highly popular, because casuals either won't have the time or they won't have the skill or both to move very quickly through this game because they're going to be challenged at every level. Their skill is going to be pushed, and they're either going to increase in skill or they're going to throw their little fits and walk away from the game. And it's up to them. They have the right to make that choice all they want. So as you're going through these epic quests, one quest alone you'll have solo elements in it where you can go out there and do solo stuff. You'll have group elements in it where you will need a group, and you'll have raid elements in it. So putting these tier 12 raids inside of these or tier 12, these 12 player raids in between tiers 11 and 15 means that it gives us a perfect spot to hide some of the final pieces needed or final stages of the quest required for players to go about it. And if you think that you're going to get an epic item and it's not going to require a full raid, but there's raid content, you do not understand the value of an epic item. And that's fine. Oh, stop fighting, guys. I have a small penis. Laugh at me. So expect that. Understand that. Epic items right now, because there are no raids there, just require some unique group content, not tied into TPFEs, but unique group content. TPFEs are tier progression flagging events, the stuff you need to do to flag yourself for the next tier. If we move to put these raids in there, which honestly I absolutely do not mind. I don't mind sitting down and creating all these raids. For me, creative writing like that is cake. I'm gonna whoop my boys' butt. They want to watch a movie, so they're waiting on me. So we'll end this in a few minutes. So the epic quests will run you through some really tenuous group activities that you will absolutely not be able to solo. These will not be created in a way that you're going to solo. It's just not. It's far too powerful of an item to let people have any chance of soloing. It just is. There has to be some weights on that. I'm sure there's going to be one or two people who are going to find a way to solo one, maybe two of the events, but not all of them. So the way it works though, the tier, right? So the scaling epic items is if you get that chest, if it becomes available in tier 11, we haven't decided what tiers these come available yet, but if it becomes available at tier 11, in tier 12, you'll have another series of quests, not quite as long as the first, but you'll have another series of quests that will be lengthy, that will allow you to increase its power. So to give it another slot for runes, and it'll increase whatever bonus effects that it has that will be absolutely unique to epic items. We've still got some figuring out to do with the specifics of the epic gear, but just know it's going to be badass. It'll be balanced for the reward for what you have to do to get it, and it'll be pretty fucking awesome. So, and if we throw in the raids in tiers 11 through 15, it will require the raids. I don't think that's going to scare any of you. I just thought it's important for me to note. I don't know. I think it's important to note. So anyway, all right. So if anybody has any questions, are there any questions out there, Steve? If anybody has any questions, send them on over. If you don't, I'll play the video for you one more time, and then we'll take off. Oh my God! I just figured out. I just looked over and saw Jack's picture right here. What the hell? What is wrong with you? And this right here, man, look, I've said this a few times, ladies and gentlemen. Jack, if you're listening, I've said this a few times on the forums, on the game page itself. Again here, this game is not made for loners. Get a buddy. There are great single-player games out there that already exist. There are great single-player MMOs out there that already exist. We are not creating another single-player MMO. So, when it comes to you being a loner, you're going to have to decide whether or not you want to group with other people in this game, because there's going to come a point around tier 10 that you are going to need to group with at least one person, and for most people it's going to be 4, 5, and 6 people from that point on. So If it's not something you're down with, this is not the game for you. Do not waste your time investing emotions and money into this game. I want you to understand up front that this game is about bringing back community aspects, about bringing back a lot of things in MMOs that made them successful to begin with, because it's what we miss. It's the reason why we jump from MMO to MMO, because they don't exist inside of them anymore. So we need to be honest. You guys, me, we just need to be honest with each other about that kind of stuff. I don't want anybody thinking that there's any way that this is going to turn into a single player fest if I give you the capability or extra abilities to do it. It's just not going to happen. All right? Your skill would dictate the majority of it, but the majority of it's going to be balanced pretty damn good. So okay, it really is. Ariel Cat says group oriented combat is too great to miss. People who have never truly experienced it really don't know. I promise you, you will enjoy group oriented combat. It is something else entirely. Okay, it is absolutely something else from soloing. It is just it's brilliant. But Merid says, just don't make me get gear at tier 10 and then keep that same gear for the rest of the game. Even if it is epic, I want to change what my gear looks like as I progress. So the epic gear will change appearance as you progress. That's I mean that's it's really something that needs to happen. On top of that, you can actually change the image of your gear at any point in time you want. This is something we've already decided to put in the game because as the games have moved on, we respect and absolutely understand that appearance is very important to people. So, you'll I don't know if you'll be able to change the appearance of the item specifically, but you will have costume slots that you can set up for different things. One can be on all the time, or for the most part, and the other one, a second costume slot will override if you walk into town. Um, and then another one overrides if you walk into a dungeon or something like that. But it'll for the most part you'll have a lot of weight on how you look throughout this world. So, all right, I think that's it. So let's throw this video out there again, huh? I love this video. I absolutely love this video. I keep getting lost on my mouse. Look, like I said, for those of you that can solo the majority of this game, I want you streaming this motherfucker at all times. I'm not playing with you. I want to see, like, it's going to take skill. I love skill. I appreciate it. Just like beauty, I appreciate me some beauty. I appreciate me some skill. Uh, People need to see that kind of shit. People need to see players like that. They absolutely need to see players like that. Number one, it's great marketing for us. Let's just be honest. We're talking about honesty. It's absolutely excellent marketing for us. Okay. But number two, to show people that that this game does have a high level of a skill check as opposed to, and I don't mean skills your character knows, your skill as a gamer. For people to see that there is a high demand on your skill as opposed to anything else out there is very important. And that kind of stuff just emphasizes that. Now, a lot of players will die trying to repeat the same thing, and that's fine. It's part of the MMO world. It's part of the gaming world, really. I died playing Zelda a million times as a little kid. Especially the second, was it the second one or the first one? Uh, I can never remember if there was one before it or not. But I mean, I died an unquestionable amount of times because I made stupid mistakes, swung my sword too soon, went into a room I wasn't ready for, whatever the damn case may be. It's a part of the game. Real gamers enjoy that shit. Um, People that just want to be, I, I really don't want to use a word, but entitled brats, they just want to spend a lot of money to show off that they can get the same things you can, which is a huge reason why you will never see a combat relevant item in our cash shop. Will we make money? Absolutely. Every game that does it does. Anybody who says differently doesn't know how to do market research because it's all out there. Is that a game we want to build? Fuck no. I want to get my ass kicked by motherfuckers that went and earned their gear. So. Oh, that's an L? Okay, so Arrow Cat. All right. I know it's kind of a masochist thing to say, right? Is it masochist to say this? I used to know the difference between the two. I don't really know the difference between the two anymore. I think it's masochist to wish pain upon yourself. Whatever. This ain't a thesaurus moment. Oh shit! There we go. Oh, it's an I. Man, I read that all wrong. So it's a rye cat, no L. Okay, RA cat, RA, array cat. Okay, okay. All right. So here's the video. And then I'm gonna go geek out with my boys and watch a movie. But thank you all for showing up. I love your freaking faces. Cuss us out a lot more often, huh? Y'all motherfuckers don't cuss us out enough. Jesus Christ, man. I expect to be cussed out a lot by you bastards. Seriously. Fuck yourselves. I'm sorry, that was some Emily right there. For those of you that follow Kian, I watched too many of his videos today. Go fuck yourself, Kian. Alright. What the fuck? Alright, let's do that. There we go.